Oh, okay, perfect. So we're going to call this meeting to order. At this time, I'll ask if there are any additions to the agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a seconder?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the agenda is approved. So we do have a gallery presentation, but we will table that for now until our presenter is able to arrive. We'll move on to agenda item. Oh, hi, welcome Stan.
Hello.
We're just going to complete acknowledgements and then we'll go back to gallery presentations. So give you time to get situated. So just for a couple of acknowledgements for the benefit. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilor Duda.
I have an acknowledgement.
Sure, oh no, absolutely. Why don't we start with you?
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to acknowledge the sad passing of our colleague. She was the warden of Richmond County, Madeline Libis. I worked with her on numerous committees, including SAT and the RDA. She was the first woman warden in Cape Breton Island. I think she was also the first woman that served the NSFM for a year term. So I'd just like to give our condolences to Richmond County and with the passing of Madeline Libis.
Thank you very much for your acknowledgement. A few other acknowledgements and then we'll open up the floor if anybody else has any. April is Cancer Awareness Month as well as Child Abuse Awareness Month. The second Wednesday of April is International Day of Pink, which we hope will lead to an equitable society free of all discrimination. And then Earth Day is April 22nd. And as per our proclamation that we'll discuss a little later, April 25th is Parental Alienation Day. And then April 23rd to 29th, of course, is National Volunteer Week. And we certainly appreciate all the volunteers in the town of Port Hawkesbury. Any other acknowledgements this evening?
Yes, Your Worship.
Councilor Coyne.
April is Autism Awareness Month as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that addition. Is there any other acknowledgements? Okay. So we will go back to agenda item 4, which is gallery presentations. And I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Stan Johnson, who has kindly come in person to give us a presentation about CEPI and Peterborough. The floor is yours, Stan.
All righty.
Welcome.
How you doing?
Good.
All righty. As you guys know, I'm with CEPI, but I'm an interim coordinator for Peterborough now. We're trying to get her back online. Peterborough is made up of the 5 municipalities and the 5 First Nations of the band, so the council members are basically the Peterborough, what Peterborough is. That's the 5 municipalities and the First Nations. They came up with the name, they came up with the name a long time ago. What Peterborough means is basically, say if you put how would I explain this now? They put a blanket on the table and you get the hole in the middle and you pour water, it would all pour into that spot. That's what Peterborough means in our language, so that's where the name Bedore Lake came from. Bedore Lakes is what our people call it because basically one time we used to be a series of lakes, but since it filled in when the water levels came up, the sea levels came up, they filled in, and that's why it's one big lake now. We've been doing projects with Peterborough for a while now, but why Peterborough looks at issues such as sewage and that kind of stuff, like it's got more teeth than what CEPI does. So we look like one of the biggest projects they worked on was actually that between the town of Wago and White Cogma. The 2 communities there, they actually got together and we did a project with them a few years ago and actually did a little sewage system for the whole situation to get it good for the White Cogma Bay. So we do stuff like that. We do discharge from recreation voters as well. A few years ago, I was in, my cousin who lives at Crane Cove, right? Albert Marshall, he's married to Albert Marshall's daughter. He lives right on the water there. And one weekend, the kids came up to him and said there was an oil slick coming into the shore. It was an oil slick, so he went up to take up the shore. Sure enough, there was a sheen on the water. He touched it with like oily substance and he put in the call to the If you go to Fisher Building, there's a number there you can call. They came to check it out, but at the time, Greg Johnson worked with our office at the time, he was the manager of our economic development office. Him and his wife were actually in Big Pond that Sunday, and they were metal detecting on the shore. And they saw a big yacht, American yacht, coming into the islands there, down by Island View there, those areas there. So what we figured that they discharged their ballast or their sewage from the boat and then took off on their merry way, not caring about the lake at all. If you want to do something like that, like you're probably obviously coming from the States, do it out in the ocean where it doesn't affect a small ecosystem like the lake. So that's one of the things we're looking at. So at the time, right now, we have about 6 pump out stations around the lake, which will help in getting those set up. And what those are basically allows boaters that come into the lake to actually pump out their sewage into a proper area rather than doing what the other guys are doing. So that's one of the things we're doing. One thing we're working on is, or looking at is, inadequate sewage disposal from cottages, because a good friend of mine, that used to be, you probably know her, Anna Steele, used to be with us with the Nova Scotia Environment, and she was with us for a long time. And she was telling me once that there was a grandfather clause in 1972 or something that allows cottage owners around the lake to basically leave a wall up or leave a porch up and it's built around it, and they basically can keep the same straight pipe they have going into the lake. So that's one of the things we want to take a look at, maybe start doing the study and see how many cottages around the lake have proper adequate sewage systems and how many we can help for them to upgrade their systems up to, like, it's, because we all know, it's the, Brewer Lake is beautiful. We all know about it. And one of the things that kept it clean over all these years was the amount of oysters that were in there. And as you all know, like, when you put oysters in an aquarium full of dirty water, it'll clean up in no time. And so imagine what those oysters were doing for the lake all those years. But ever since the MSX disease came with the lakes, which like decimated 95% of the oyster population, that industry's gone. The oysters are basically died off, most of them. I think I was talking to Joe Google one day, who was one of the last oyster people around the lake that still has his stock surviving. And he's actually there's a project at CBU that they're working on actually with Joe, basically to figure out how come the mortality in the lake is 90%, and he's got 95% success rate. So what's going on here? So they were working with Joe on this and how he's doing it. So they're trying to study how that's coming up. But that's just one issue. So right now we're looking at a lot of areas around the lake. As you know, there's a lot of properties around the lake, a lot of wealthy homeowners around the lake that are armoring their shorelines around the lake, which that's negative effect of the people on their, basically their neighbors, right? So all the deflection, like the wave deflection, the actions from the nor'easters that hit the lake, they deflect off of these armored areas and actually affect the other areas. Like we did a project in Mulligowage, I'm sure you heard that a few years ago, the graves were washing out into the water. Mulligowage is probably one of the oldest graveyards in Canada. And when they did that, basically it was an emergency situation. So Indian Affairs came up with some bunch of money and they basically dumped a bunch of rocks by where the graveyard was. And then as well as the canal going out to the graveyard, but they didn't really do it properly. This was an emergency thing, so they did it as a temporary shelter. And now it's with the wave action we get on the lake sometime, like it's pulling all the silt out of the rocks. So they're starting to expose the graveyard again. So that's one thing we'll have to look at. We went to a couple of communities around the lake as well, not just First Nation, but other communities, and monitoring shoreline activity there. And like shoreline erosion is bad. So one of the issues we looked at was maybe developing a project where, I don't know if you guys ever heard of reef balls they use in the shorelines out in the resorts down south there, where actually they reclaimed a lot of the ocean back because of the shoreline of the ocean, because of the wave action. If the waves basically took away, I think it was one resort we looked at, it was like 90 feet of sand they had right from their steps right to the water. They showed one picture where the water was right where the steps were, and then they started putting these reef balls in the water. What these reef balls do is, you know what they are, right? They're like, you know those hockey balls you used to use, those little round ones with the holes in them? Well, that's what like a reef ball is, but it's like half of that. and it's maybe like this high, 4 feet wide. And what you do is you put them in the water, stack them like sort of like this, and they stack over each other, and you stack them in a row. What they do is basically all the way, you don't bring them out of the water. They're like maybe a foot under the water, and you put markers on them. What they do is any storms that come in, they sort of hit those before they hit the shore. So what happens behind those just peters up and it doesn't rip the shores right up, right? And that's the problem we're having. One of the things we can put with the aggregate in cement is actually allow like shellfish to survive and oysters and that stuff like that to actually be able to propagate onto those reef balls and make ecosystems out of them. So we know there's a lot of lobsters actually like living in them as well. So that's like one of the initiatives we were thinking of maybe trying on a couple of spots around the lake. We'll let you know about that. There's also like the effects on fishery operations around the lake. Like as you guys know, nobody hardly fishes oyster on the lake and oyster a lot because there's not much there. And I think it's only has 7 licenses, but we don't fish them. We just sit on them, so we don't use them. There's a lot of helpless recreational activity as well with the sewage systems out on water, especially it's being warmer these days when you go to the shore, like it's really warm. Some of these areas that the sewage actually runs into the water. We did a project with Dalhousie a few years ago with SEPI Youth, and we had ROVs in the water and AUVs. They're like, the drones we have flying in, they have some in the water as well. And it was funny. Remember a few years ago we had the big ice wall at Irish Mill there?
It was huge.
And we did a study there on that sandbar that year with the students. And we had Bruce Hatcher and everybody out there. We had Dalhousie there, a lot of students. It was fun. And they couldn't figure out why their drone kept bouncing into the sandbar. Because they could run it, and they had their coordinates and it would keep bouncing on the sandbar. I want to say, why is it doing this? So anyway, Bruce Hatcher got out his measuring devices that a lot more accurate GPS and went down the sandbar with some devices. They looked at it. The sandbar had moved 10 feet from the year before because of the ice fall. So the images we're using from the year before, that's where the drone was trying to go, but it wasn't going because the sandbar had moved. But one of the areas, but that spot there that we did the Irish Mill work at, there was a little Barishwell pond that was there. And there were several cottages there, and that water was green. Green like sewage water. And it stunk. And that was just one of the examples probably of what's going on all around the lake. So that's one of the issues we're start looking at.
Your worship, Stan, before you change that, where is that picture at? From? The lighthouse? Where's that lighthouse at? Is that the one off Marble Mountain out in the water? Looks like it.
I'm not sure.
I'm just trying to figure out that lighthouse. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, and you guys know there's also algae and stuff going around the lakes as well, like especially the Barishwell Pond, all that, and the warm water's just been crazy these days. And there's a lot of algae growth, that blue algae they call it. So it's not really good for like even animals and stuff. People swim in it. So like a lot of our recreational stuff is at a loss right now. And then our people are worried about the medicines and stuff that are in the shore as well. So we took action on, we installed pump out stations, we updated sewage treatment plant in Waikagma, we did a coastline climate change project 2 years ago, where we actually looked at how much the water is going to rise in 50 years and 100 years. So we have those kind of reports available for you guys to look at as well. In 2013, we had a climate change conference in Wamacook. And we had community workshops all around the lake as well, building plans for this, and then we assisted some municipalities drafting some climate change action plans as well. Potable water conservation project, we created the Boiler Lake Water Rangers, 3D, bringing our freshwater supply watershed there. They had a water balance project, remember too, and the CBR, remember to runoff diversion issues as well. And then dredging cycles hampered boat navigation partnership with Environment Canada and Water, like the dredging that was happening. It happened a bit, but we sort of, it stopped a while because it was doing a lot of damage to the lake. And then we do facilitate dialogue between Inverness County and Wamacook, leading to memorandum of understanding, rather more than just sewage trip being taken in MOU between Inverness and Wamacook. Vita Bois 2024 and beyond, we're looking at the collaborative UNR project for UNR. It's for partners. Beetlebaugh's a car resort is expanding engaging partners on a few projects, currently drafting the 5-year plan with Beetlebaugh, so we'll share with you as well. One of the projects we're looking at, one of them, Muskoka project, that's a species at risk project that we're working on. And it's a coal project with UINR, SEPI, and Beetlebaughh. And actually, we've got a 3-year project, but it's got extended 3 years again. And also we're working on that as well. And we had some interest from CBR and other municipalities on those issues. And then we're looking at a new project this year is with UINR, Uinmagi Watershed Data Collection and Stakeholder Engagement. So we're looking at this watershed data, watershed management around the lake, and then the research, and then we're trying to do some stakeholder engagement with municipalities. Once we get a little more project flushed out, we just basically sign the paperwork for it. We'll be moving on that and plant erosion control with Maligouage and Budwalek with the 2 graveyards there. And Maligouage, as I told you, had the graveyard that was washing out. Budwalek's got the same issue. So we're trying to figure out what we can do because Budwalek's, we've always known before the settlers came, it was a burial area. A lot of our people are buried there for thousands of years. So it's always been a burial issue. So that's where that's going on. And working towards a low carbon economy as always.
And the extreme weather that we've been getting as of late, that's got to be adding to amplifying the former challenges.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my brother this year. He says, it's even El Nino years, it's going to be mild and it's going to be a lot of precipitation. There's not going to be any snow. I told him, elders were saying there's going to be snow around here. Mm-hmm. And he said, what do you mean? He said, everything's up higher. Beehives, everything, they're pacing up higher off the ground. They're ready for snow.
They were
And then, lo and behold, we got the craziest snow this year. We got another storm coming in a couple of days. So like, it's not done with us yet. So we aim to combine traditional Mi'kmaq logic and scientific research, basically utilizing 2IC and everything we work on, right? And we seek to partner with federal, provincial, First Nation communities, as well as municipalities and NGOs and academia and all our initiatives that we're working on. And that's basically just about it. And I'd like to ask you, now that the problem is scrapped Coastal Protection Act, I think it all falls back to you guys and to the private homeowners around the lake as well and how to work with this. Now, they say they got some tools and stuff, but them scrapping it, basically the government sort of washes their hands of it. Okay, it's up to you guys. So one SEPI did that you guys probably know about, we did the development standard a few years ago. And at the time, they were a little ahead of their time when they first came out. Now, we did Rick McCready used to work with the province on planning on this. We worked with the Eastern District Planning Board as well as the CBRF. About 4 or 5 years ago, we actually got them to look at the development standards, see if they were still relevant and if there are any changes that need to be added to it. So we did some recommendations to it. And we will share those with you as well. So if you guys want to look at the standards, like it's basically shows you how to live around the lake and how where to put your boats, where to put your houses, how to do this, how to do that to keep the lake safe, right?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Stan, when you talked about standards. I think part of the danger is that you could have a different set of standards in one municipality, and the next door neighbor municipality could have a completely different set. So yeah, it's great to at least have a good baseline of something that's been developed through 2IC and the project. It could be
when we did the standards, we talked to Rick, and he actually had a meeting with the Eastern District Planning and the Sydney guys, and they were sort of on the same page, and a lot of the stuff was copy and pasted into their programs.
That's fantastic.
It's a good project,
yeah. So I guess we'll open up the floor for any questions. Does anybody have any questions for Stan? Okay. And congratulations on the 2IC conference. That was phenomenal. I'm still hearing great comments about it.
Yeah, it could have went big.
Yes. Albert was a superstar.
Yeah, there's no interest for it happening again, so we're looking at maybe another couple of years putting that one together. A lot of people that heard about it at the last minute, everybody just wanted to jump on board.
It was shoulder to shoulder. It was a packed house.
Yeah, we had bigger facilities we could pack them with. That's how we were allowed to have. So.
Good it took orders for the next conference at that conference.
Terry wasn't happy with his
Yeah, and I just wanted to say welcome to Ron as well.
I'm back.
Oh, you're the backup.
Yeah.
And did you have anything on Sunday or just Piedmont today?
That's beautiful.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we will look forward to you sharing some of the information that maybe if you send it to Melissa, she can circulate it to council.
All right. Thanks for your time. And,
Oh my gosh, thank
Thank you
you.
for
Thank you for
coming.
coming all the way down
No
here
problem.
to spend time with us in person. It's a treat.
No, there's no problem.
It's a treat, not that it's not a treat to see you on the screen, but it's also nice to see you.
And for you, April 10th is the senior council meeting.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
April 10th?
Yeah.
10 to 2?
yeah. And we'll have actually who's joining us.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Hope to see you there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Ron. All right. Okay, so we'll move on to approval of council minutes. So we have our public meeting of council, March 5th, 2024. At this time, I would ask if there are any errors or omissions. They were very thorough minutes, I should say. Hearing none, we'll move on to business arising from the minutes at this time. Okay, we'll move over to Terry for council committee reports.
Yes, your worship, from committee of whole. Motion for consideration that the town of Hawkesbury honor employees that have passed away while employed with the town of Hawkesbury.
Okay, what is the wishes of council?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor McCrory. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Councillor McCrory. Any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? The motion is approved. Okay, so
And your worship, that's the only motion coming from Cameron,
thank
from committee of whole.
Thank you very much, Terry. So you all have the minutes of our committee of the whole for March 19th, 2024. At this time, I would ask for any errors or omissions with those set of minutes. And if there are no changes, I would ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Moved.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor McIver. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor O'Coin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Minutes are approved. Any business arising from the minutes of committee of whole? Okay, motions from in camera.
Yes, your worship, there's one motion for consideration of council, and that's to approve the personnel recommendation from the in-camera session.
Okay, what is the wishes of council?
I'll move the motion.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion?
Question.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is approved. Anything else? Just the one.
Just the one.
Under correspondence, we do have the first correspondence coming from the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing with regard to our council request to meet in person to discuss the mixed-use development zone. And there was an indication as per that correspondence that we would try to coordinate with that department so that pending availability, all members or some members who are available from our council can travel to Halifax to meet with the members of staff, whether it's the deputy minister and also senior support staff with regard and to meet to discuss the mixed use development zone. So more to come when we're able to sort out a date, and Terry will keep us apprised of any, I guess, we haven't received any, I guess, tentative dates to consider yet.
No, we haven't,
Okay, maybe we can circle back to them tomorrow just to see
Sure,
if
yep.
there's
for sure.
at least a window of time that could work. And then that way we can start polling council for availability. Okay, the second letter is for information for council. It's with regard to the Provincial Department of Energy. It seems from the contents of the letter that there's some positive steps being taken with regard to emergency management and emergency response. In particular, I really appreciate that vulnerable citizen registry. I think it's going to be extremely important going forward when we're dealing ongoing extreme weather events. I think that it's nice to see that there'll be a provincial response and to create that culture of emergency preparedness, I think is very positive. Any other thoughts or discussion on this letter? Anything from your end as a volunteer firefighter, positive things?
No, I think it's all positive, as they were saying in their letter. It's all good.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely wonderful news, just to see that provincially coordinated effort.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to proclamations. We do have one proclamation for council to consider, which is around Parental Alienation Day, Bubbles of Love. So I'll read the proclamation for the consideration of council. Whereas parental alienation deprives children of the right to love and be loved by their whole family, and it is very damaging to children. Whereas behaviors such as speaking negatively about a parent to or in front of a child can destroy the bond between a loving parent and child. Whereas awareness of this issue creates education and understanding to better the lives of children in our community. Whereas April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month and parental alienation is considered a form of child psychological abuse. Whereas this year is the 19th Annual Parental Alienation Awareness Day, and the caring citizens of our community will gather together and join others around the world to blow bubbles of love to symbolize that as bubbles flow freely, so should the natural love that a child has for both parents and both sides of their family. So with regard to the proclamation, it is the wishes of council.
I move the adoption of the proclamation, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor McDougall. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
It's been seconded by Deputy Mayor McIver. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Okay, the motion is approved. Okay. So we're going to move on to other business, agenda item 13. First up is council expenses. I'll hand things over to Terry.
Yes, Your Worship. So the expenses for the month of March was included in the package. The expenses are for a total of $1,612.11. It'll be posted to our webpage for review by the public.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. And this is just a random question of curiosity. Is there anybody joining Councilor McDougall for the FCM this year? You're just flying solo.
No, I
Oh, okay,
think
Councilor McCrory.
I think he was on the month before.
Okay, very good. So you will both be going to represent the town. We appreciate that. We'll be able to make it this year. All right. Any questions on council expense? Okay, we'll move on to joint council draft agenda. So Terry, if you can take us through that for our joint council meeting potentially with Richmond County.
Yes, Your Worship. So included in your package was an agenda for a joint public meeting between the town of Fort Hawkesbury and the municipality of the county of Richmond. It's there for your review and discussion. It is quite a lengthy agenda, and so it's sort of a long list of potential items went up to the committee, and then, so this is what has come back from the municipality of County of Richmond. So I just it's there for discussion.
Maybe we'll start with our deputy mayor, who I thank you for being part of our subcommittee on
I
the
think,
generation of this.
through you, your worship, it's, I think it's quite an agenda.
Take your sleeping
I
bag.
think my question was, this is a weekend meeting?
I think it's the start of maybe a series of meetings.
Yeah, it could be, but
Yes.
it covers quite a bit,
Mhm.
and I'm satisfied with everything that's in it.
Mhm.
But if we get to it all, I think it'll be
Great.
interesting.
Well, we got to start with one meeting, and if we have to have a succession of meetings to have multiple conversations about everything on our agenda, then I guess that's the hill we'll have to cross when we're ready. Councillor Coyne?
Well, it's nice to see agenda put together. Very lengthy. I think we should be a little more realistic on coming up with an agenda for the first meeting. With all this, like Deputy Mayor said, we're there for the weekend. So let's try to compress this to give it a legitimate agenda for one meeting and move from there.
Okay, we'll go over to you, Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I agree with the other two members. It is lengthy, but it looks like it's what we asked staff to do, and they did it. So it might have to be broken up, but it's a good starting point, yes.
Thank you. Councillor McCord?
It is a lengthy agenda. We're certainly not going to get through that agenda at the first meeting. But I mean, these are the issues that we have in cooperation and mutually. And I kind of, would I be correct in assuming that some of these agenda items are just going to be presentations to the joint council meeting, just updates on what's happening?
Yeah, so we certainly can put together an agenda package with the pertinent information for each of those items, and each participating member obviously will have a copy of that agenda, and probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, some of those presentations will be provided by staff and CAOs. Yeah, and it may, like Councillor McDougall said, it may take more than one meeting to get through every one of these. I think I like that housing is up front and center. I think that is definitely something that is a huge priority for the town and also a huge priority for Richmond County. We can probably spend a whole meeting just talking about housing. But again, we have to kind of give consideration to the amount of time that we have to cover off some of these and schedule subsequent meetings so that we can digest and have conversations about each and every one of those agenda items. Did you have anything else, Councilor?
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, so are we satisfied to, I guess, see what we can get through in our first meeting and then continue on through the agenda items?
I'm not, no. I would like to have an agenda that we're gonna have for the first meeting. Going into a meeting with this, we know we're not getting through it. So let's pick some, let's have those discussions the first meeting. I don't wanna go to a meeting expecting to deal with certain things and that not be on the agenda. Let's know what we're going to talk about before that specific meeting. That's my 2 cents.
Any other comments?
Is this, Your Worship, through you, is this a decision making or
Well,
just mostly an information session, it looks like, because is it committee of the whole or is it a council meeting?
Terry will review the
I guess
process.
can we vote? Or not vote?
Yeah, so it's a joint meeting of council, so there's a number of municipalities have them, so the one that's closest to it is the municipality, the county of Antigonish, and the town of Antigonish they started joint meetings a number of years ago, so they have a process in place, would follow something similar to that. So we have two chairs and they rotate through meetings. Certainly, it can be a meeting where you vote on items of concern that you have authority over. So that would affect both municipalities.
I think Councillor McDougall was asking if we need to approve this agenda this evening. Is that-
Oh,
is
I
that
see.
what
No,
you're
no,
meaning?
no, no, no.
Okay, no, just you were asking about the
just-
logistics of the meeting itself.
Is it going to be just an information session? There's going to be decisions
Right.
made?
Sorry, I
Are
misunderstood.
we-
Terry understood.
Are both councils in agreement that there will be decisions made? Is it even legal to make decisions at this state? I don't know. So well, I think it says a joint public meeting. Is it a council meeting or is it an information session or what is it?
I think there's going to be a lot of information. There's committee work. There's a number of initiatives that we share with Richmond County. So it's an update on those things. It's asking questions and then from questions, concerns, and then trying to get consensus from both municipalities on how we move forward on that. The authority under the Municipal Government Act, as you know, sits with the individual councils. So individual council would have to make a decision that's under the purview of the council of the municipality. There are things where we can get agreement on how to move forward. As an example, you may wish to get consensus on putting money forward for a study, or for assigning staff to do certain work or that type of thing. So there's decisions on how that group moves forward and how certain initiatives move forward. But the authority is vested in the individual municipal units.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, partly, but I guess a lot of these, the bullets here we have joint committees anyway where the decisions, any of the decisions would be made, like the Eastern District Planning Commission, the library, Landry Lake Utility. We have at the committee level, there will be decisions. This is why I'm kind of leaning towards it's more of an information session and just a get together in a
Right.
hello, my neighbor type of meeting.
Yes. I agree. And yeah, it's a good opportunity to have conversations, like you said, to build rapport, but also to share information that maybe not every councillor on both sides of the municipal line has access to. So not everybody sits on the airport committee, not everybody sits on Landry Lake. So it's a great opportunity to have all that information in an agenda package, and then have the opportunity to hear from staff if there's any questions with regard to any of that information. And yeah, so it definitely will hopefully get us on the same page with areas of mutual interest. Anything you want to add? Terry or Mark, you're on the subcommittee as well?
No, only, I guess, as Councilor McDougall said, it's just more of an information, but we also should have an opportunity, if we're going to discuss anything with our joint committees that are contractual or monetary, that we're in camp.
Of course, 100%. That's a good point. Thank you for adding that.
Your worship, I think as well, there could be areas where we want to see improvement. So we have a number of joint initiatives, but we could have consensus on how to improve things or change things. Kind of idea.
Yeah, and to
And to
Councilor,
add things.
yeah, no, absolutely. And to Councilor McDougall's point, I mean, if there are questions or recommendations or suggestions, they would have to go back to each of those committees. So like say, for example, the airport, for example, if there's a really great idea that's shared at the joint meeting, you know, myself as chair or Councillor McCrory as a member of the airport committee could bring it back to that committee for at least to share that committee could make that consideration. So it's not necessarily a decision-making meeting, but it's, to Councillor McDougall's point, it's an information sharing, building rapport, and getting everybody on the same page. Any other questions? Okay, are we good to move forward with the agenda? With the understanding that we're not going to get through all of it, but these are all the topics we do want to cover over this meeting and consecutive meetings.
Through you, your worship, just for
Sure.
Councillor Coyne's. The agenda, I guess, if we can't, I can think his concerns were jumping around the agenda or whatever. But if we have this agenda, we start at the top.
Yeah.
And we go as far as we can. So if we can only do
Yeah,
from
that
here
is
to
my
here.
concern. That is my
But
concern.
we're not going to jump from here down to here,
That's my concern.
that we're going to jump.
No, my concern is that we're going there,
Rushed.
we're gonna go quick, and we're not going in with an agenda that we know we're gonna finish. Do we come to a council meeting with an agenda we know we're not gonna finish? No, we don't.
There's some things we could,
There's some,
Every wood.
we're only allowed to go to 11.
Well, in my 3.5 years, it hasn't happened. So,
Terry, you had something to add.
no, again, if we don't come up with an agenda that we're gonna go through that night, I will not be present at that meeting.
Terry, did
Your
you-
worship.
No, I was just mentioning, just pointing to Councilor Doug. Shout out.
I agree with Councillor Coyne. We can, and for the simple reason, and it is a simple reason, that if I go into an agenda like this, which is a good agenda, mind you, if you have a, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the agenda,
No.
but it's time consuming, and everybody likes to get through an agenda. And what we'll do is we'll rush. We get to the first one, okay, we're gonna rush through this one because we gotta get to the second one. We're gonna rush to the second one because we gotta get to the third one. And we're not gonna get it done. We'll get it done, but it won't be, it'll be no constructive work done. It'll be just, we did it, we had a meeting, we got through the agenda. You know, we start with housing, that might take us, if we have two,
We could do a whole meeting just on that.
absolutely, so we put one or two.
Maybe we should make this like a 2-day.
Well, you had a good idea there. I think you told me last week, you asked me if I seen this, and I said I didn't, but I think you said we all got a plane and went down Bahamas for the weekend.
We all go for the weekend to get her done.
Might get her done.
You're going to take your grass skirt.
If we're going to the Bahamas, let's do it.
So maybe what we can do is Mark and I can, and Terry can reconvene with the deputy warden and warden and CAO of Richmond County and talk about, how can we, I guess, maybe this is a series of meetings, obviously, ideally.
I agree, your worship.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about timelines.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you just want this to be an evening meeting, or maybe you want it to be an all-day meeting.
So maybe we can hash that out.
That's
with
something
them.
that you folks can figure out. I mean, I can stay till 11, it's no problem.
When do we have time?
So maybe if this is 3
15
meetings,
minutes.
then we set dates for 3 meetings. And if there are issues that, council feel are more important than others, then you can choose which of the meetings you would like to attend. But we can take that back to the subcommittee
Yeah.
and suggest that. And if
3
they're
hours.
happy with that, then we can look at a couple of dates to
Yeah.
be able to manage all of, and there's no question, I think everything that we talked about as a council, that we have mutual interests, mutual areas of interest with our neighbors, I feel is on this list.
It's there.
It's all important.
And if we can take to Councilor McDougall's point and Councilor Point's point, we can take the appropriate time to do justice to this, to all of these items. It's fine if that's 3 meetings or 4 meetings. So we can take that back and, figure out a way to make sure that we're not just meeting to meet, and we're meeting to really, give the appropriate time to the topics. Okay? Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Perfect.
The
More
challenge,
work for us, Mark.
Well, I have, 3 hours to get this hashed out. So.
Okay, Councilman
yeah,
Terry.
just to you, your worship, to council to, I guess the thing is, yeah, we're appreciating that we're not likely to get through the whole agenda.
Mhm.
And we're saying, okay, we'll defer issues to subsequent meetings. The challenge will be around scheduling of those subsequent meetings too.
So if we can pick a time that works well with the councils, then maybe it's, maybe we can meet 3 times in the next couple of months. Or maybe 2 times. So,
First one's looking challenging.
but it's important that if we do need to meet more than once, to lock those dates in, so we get them in our calendars, because we know how fast that time fills up, those time slots fill up. And then I guess all we can do is take the recommendation forward and get some advice from our fellow subcommittee members, and we can bring that back to committee of the whole, so we can hopefully lock something in for our first meeting. Sound good? Okay. All right, there's no approved additions. Our future meetings are committee of the whole, April 16th, followed by a public meeting on May 7th. We do not have any members of the gallery. No offense, Adam. We'll put you in the media bucket. And I don't think we have any gallery online, but I will ask if there's any public question period in case I'm missing someone. Any questions with regard to any agenda items this evening? I would ask for a motion of adjournment.
So
Thank you
moved.
for one further time. Councillor McClory, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Coyne. I hope you feel better soon. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Or the meeting is adjourned.